it's Phoebe. Welcome back to my channel. I don't really have much of a filming setup situation like I did before. So we're just sitting on the floor to film until further notice. That being said, let's jump into what I read in the month of November. To start with, I read The Once and Future Witches by Alix E. Harrow. This book sort of takes a look at things. It's set in 1893 America, but it's kind of as if the witches in the Salem witch trials were real witches. And so witchcraft has kind of been stomped out in this America. And so women are like the suffragette movement and all of those things are happening, but there's also this added layer of women's witchcraft being taken away from them, more or less. And so this book follows three sisters who came from a small town and have happened and kind of became like estranged from one another and happened to meet back up again in New Salem. And all of them are taking have very different views towards the movement that's happening for women's liberation, basically, and that sort of thing. And so pretty much the main sister, her name is James Juniper, is really fighting for women's rights and for magic to be known again in this world and all that kind of stuff, I guess. I feel like that wasn't the best description, but I'm going in order of like how I read them. And so this was the first one that I read this month. And I actually didn't even start it in November. I started it in October. And it took me a little bit to read. I felt like this book overall was pretty slow and it's pretty thick, and I don't know, for me, I felt like there wasn't enough happening that really kept me like involved in the story. It was just a lot of like day-to-day things going on, and some of the language was definitely really beautiful, really well written, but it just didn't move along fast enough for me. It didn't wow me as much as I was hoping, unfortunately. Next, I read two Fear Street books. This book is a 2-in-1. So I read The Dead Boyfriend and Give Me a Kill. I read, if you remember, I read a lot of Fear Street books last October, and these just happened to be like, because I bought a bunch at one time, and these just happened to be the ones that I didn't get to last year, so I saved them for this year. And these were easily the worst Fear Street books that I read. I don't think I ever really talked about that series on here. Actually, I think I filmed a video where I talked about the books, but I don't remember if I ended up posting it or not. Regardless, none of them were really great. And I didn't really expect them to be literary masterpieces, but these two were so awful. I'm gonna get them confused. They both also had a lot in common, like the main characters in both of these stories, indistinguishable. But both of them just like didn't make any sense. I'm trying to even remember. Yeah, okay. So the first one, in The Dead Boyfriend, our main character is Caitlin. And she ends up killing her boyfriend in this like weird twist of events. And just like all the decisions she makes, it just doesn't make any sense at all. And then the next one, Give Me a Kill. The story started out really unbelievable because our main character, Gretchen, moves to Shadyside, the town where all of these stories are set, and she's trying to get on the cheerleading squad. But like, the thing that was weird was that it spent so much time describing like she's from a smaller town than Shadyside, and she came here and like the high school is like so big and overwhelming. And the cheer squad that she's trying out for only has 6 cheerleaders on it, and they're like, there can only be 6 cheerleaders on it. So like the drama of the book is that one of the other girls who has been at Shadyside like forever is going to have to get cut from the team to make room for Gretchen. And so that like storyline alone, I wasn't buying. There's definitely murder in this one as well, obviously, given the title. I can't remember who gets killed. It really doesn't matter. These are both absolute trash. I feel like a lot of the other Fear Street books I could at least recommend and be like, if you just want to have like a quick, mindless, like Halloween vibe read, they'd be fine. Those were the worst. I would not recommend them. Then continuing on in my Shadowhunters adventures, I read book 2 in the Dark Artifices trilogy, which is Lord of Shadows. It's literally right there on the cover. Obviously by Cassandra Clare. This book for me, it took me like a month to read. And the first half of it, I was like, oh, this is really good. I'm really getting into this series. I think this is one of the best Shadowhunters books that I've read so far. And then towards the second half, I could barely make myself keep reading it. I pretty much skimmed like the last probably third of it. I don't know what it is. I guess I missed the boat on getting into the Shadowhunters, because what really ended up happening was that this book just solidified for me. I was like, I don't get the Shadowhunters hype. And I've decided to just be okay with that, and I don't have to. Tragically, I'm literally looking right now. I have more Shadowhunters books on my like TBR shelf that I'm definitely going to be making myself read. But I think I'm okay with just not liking Shadowhunters. I don't even know how to describe what happens in this book. So literally, who's our main character? Emma. So she's in love with her, I don't know how to say that word, Parabatai Julian. And so she finds out, I guess this is a spoiler, it's the second book in the series, whatever. She finds out that them being in love can destroy them, like they'll die from it. I forget how it works. Oh, listen, I'm just gonna stop there, because then they're trying to get this book to get a secret to undo it. The curse or what? I have no idea. I did not retain much from this book. And I haven't really retained much from any of the Shadowhunters books that I've read. Like the original, what is it? Like the City of Bones, City of Glass, all that. The Mortal Instruments, is that what that series is called? Whatever. I could not really tell you what happens in those books at all. I know there's an incest storyline. I just don't retain the Shadowhunters books. And so I'm going to read the ones that I have, and we'll see how I feel about those. But you can be mad at me. I'm just not into it. It's not my thing. Next, I read The Nature of Witches by Rachel Griffin. This was a first novel. It definitely read like a first novel. So this follows our main character. Oh, wait, hang on. I do have to show you the cover for this. Is absolutely stunning. I kind of want to keep this book on my shelf just because of that pretty cover. But our main character's name is Clara. And in this world, witches each have like a season that they have power over. And Clara is really special because she is an Everwitch, which means that she has power over all of the seasons. And she's going to the special witch school, and it kind of talks about like climate change and how the witches are having such a hard time keeping up with climate change that the shaders or non-magical people are bringing onto the world. And so they're really depending on Clara to use her Everwitch powers to put things back in balance. The problem is that her magic hurts people close to her. I don't really know how this works, but like she, by accident, killed her parents and her best friend. And at the very beginning of the book, also kills her like teacher or instructor that she's closest with. And so the book is following, she has a new instructor, He is like an exchange student from Korea. His name is Sang, and he is trying to teach her how to control her magic so she can be helpful to the world and to the other witches, but also not kill people on accident. Overall, it was fine. I feel like there were some parts that I would have liked to seen like beefed up a little bit more. There was this one, spoilers, I guess, there was this one part that I really didn't like. One of her instructors, not Sang, who ends up being like her love interest, of course, one of her instructors is trying to basically force her to use her magic, because her whole issue is she's really scared to like unleash her full power because she's hurt people with it before. So to force her to use it, her instructor puts like it's a mother and her 2 kids, basically like puts their lives in danger to force Clara to use her magic to save them. And there's like no repercussions from any of the other adults for this person, again, risking these lives of like innocent bystanders. And the only thing that happens is Clara like punches her teacher in the face in front of the school and is like, never do that again. And everyone just pretends like none of that ever happened. So that was weird. And then a lot of the book also, it's describing Clara using her magic. And once or twice those kind of descriptions would be fine, but it ended up reading as a lot of kind of vague, she pushes, she pulls, she borrows power from other witches. And it's not exciting to read. So that'd be my other like big critique for the book. Like if you cut out all the parts of like the awkward, vague descriptions of Clara using her magic, I think it would be like half the length it is, and it's not a very big book. So it was fine, but it didn't live up to everything that I think it could have. I also read The Night Swim by Megan Golden. So this kind of got marketed as a thriller, and I don't think it's a thriller, personally. I would say it's definitely a mystery book, which is fine. Like, I'm not saying anything bad about it. It's just, it wasn't thrilling. It was just a mystery. But this book is about a woman named Rachel Kroll, who has this really famous podcast. And she goes to this small town in North Carolina because there's this rape trial going on there that she wants to cover on her season 3 of her podcast. And so the point of the book, and the point that Rachel is trying to make through her podcast within the book, is kind of that, you know, in the true crime world and in just like general society, we all can agree that murder is wrong. Like, black and white, it's bad if you murder someone. But rape is something that is somehow seen as like a gray area almost, where people will really come across as like blaming the victim or not trusting the victim, etc., etc. And so while Rachel is covering this current rape trial that's going on, she also is getting mysterious letters from someone in the town who is kind of giving her clues and backstory to a alleged murder that happened like 20 years ago. So Rachel is trying to like cover for the podcast, cover this trial that's actively happening, but then also is getting really interested in this old murder case and trying to figure out what happened with that. So this book was a really fast read. I read it in like one night at work, so I'll give it that. There was one really, can I give away this plot hole without I think I can say this plot hole without spoiling anything from the book. So one of the things that's like really suspicious about the letters that Rachel is getting is that she like doesn't have social media or like any kind of online presence. So no one knows what she looks like. And yet somehow the woman who like is finding her to like write these letters to her about this old murder case. Somehow she knows what she looks like in order to basically stalk her to give her these letters. And it's never really answered how she figured out what Rachel looks like. Like, I was waiting for there to be some kind of explanation, because so much of the book was Rachel being like, how does this person know who I am? How do they know, like, where to follow me? And we never find out how that person is doing that. So that to me was a pretty big plot hole. And then also the thing that really keeps me, like, the thing that really makes me say this is a mystery and not a thriller is that there was a couple of twists at the end, and they weren't like satisfying thriller twists. Like, I don't know. It's like, I wasn't like shocked when the twist came about. And then there was one twist that I was like, well, that's like freaking disappointing. It just felt more like Golden got to the end of the book and was like, oh crap, I need to like have a resolution to all of these like mysterious events that have been happening. And she was just like, I don't know, like kind of slapped something on that would make sense and kind of like resolve her story really quickly. Like she was at page count or like word count, whatever. And she was like, I have to finish this up. So the ending wasn't super satisfying, but it wasn't a bad book. It just had, I mean, I guess that's only like two real complaints. Like that plot hole and the ending was not super satisfying, but it was an enjoyable read. And finally, I read Deviate by Jay Kristoff. This is the second book in the Lifelike trilogy. I need to get that sticker off the cover. I'll do that while I talk about it, I guess. So the first book, Lifelike, introduces us to, oh, that was really easy and satisfying. Introduces us to this world of characters. It's kind of it is a YA YA dystopian book, novel series, whatever. Set in a future where basically the world is completely irradiated. It's very inhospitable to human life. The USA has like mostly flooded because I guess global warming. And so so robot life is a lot more prevalent. And so there are, I forget like all the different classes. There's normal people. There's robots that look like people, and those are the robots that are called lifelike robot, whatever. And I think most people don't like those because it's too weird that they're like not robots or not people. And then there are robots that they all have names. There's like some are Logica and some are Machina, and I forget what the difference is. There's one of them that has their own thought, and there's one of them that doesn't. It doesn't matter. There's all these different classes of robots, and there's cyborgs and all sorts of things. And Lifelike was fine, so I decided to keep going with the series. So that's why I read Deviate, which I feel like I liked better than Lifelike, but it's been a minute since I read it, so I don't know if I can say that for sure. But anyway, I also don't know how to summarize this book since it's the second in the series. I don't even know how to describe this book. There's robots and real people who are finding things out about themselves and finding things out about their friends and finding things out about how robots function. And basically in the first book, this group of friends was like all together, and then at the end of the first book they all got scattered apart. So the second book is them trying to get back together, but some of the characters have changed a lot. So I am gonna still read the third book because I'm interested enough in the characters and the storyline to see what happens next. I don't think this is going to be like a new favorite series or anything, but I am interested to see where things go from here. Thank you guys so much for watching. I'm so sorry to make you suffer through me badly describing books I feel like this video is going to be way too long, but thanks for watching. I will see you next time. Bye!